Well, hey, everybody, and thanks for joining us. We have our call number 8 in the Craig Holiday call series. This is titled Hand-Me-Downs and Overcoming the Past. So, Mr. Holiday, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Thanks a lot, Ed. I'm excited about this last topic, number 8. I know we tried to get it before, and we got a lot of static, so I'm just glad that you're all going to get a chance to hear this, because this is kind of one of my favorite talks that I've ever given. You know, I've done it a couple of times, and actually I did it about a year and a half ago for a Chalene Johnson event. And it's really a part of my passion because it has a lot to do with overcoming the past. And some of you have had an opportunity to get a chance to hear me speak as I've traveled around the country, and I always tie in a little bit of my story, but my story is one of overcoming the past, because, you know, I was an obese child, 180 pounds in the 6th grade, and my mom was an alcoholic, and we were extremely poor, and I had 4 brothers, so there were 5 of us lived in one bedroom, and we had quite a bit of abuse from men that my mom married, because she had a lot of baggage from her past and a lot of things she carried forward, and so therefore she was kind of marrying the people that she felt that she deserved to marry. And so, you know, it's kind of an interesting childhood growing up, but one of the things I've learned through my experience of just overcoming in my life is that we all can make a choice to change our past. And, you know, it really is, it comes to a point where you have to draw a line and step over the line and decide that I'm going to bless the next generation in my life instead of carrying on the curse of our past. And so I want to talk today about that. You know, I call this hand-me-downs. And what hand-me-downs are, there's a lot of you that are 2nd or 3rd or 4th kids, you know, that a lot of times when the brother or sister for some of you grow out of their clothes, you get hand-me-downs that are passed on down to you. And I kind of use that terminology because a lot of us get those hand-me-downs passed on from our parents. And a lot of them are not hand-me-downs that we want. I mean, a lot of times if you're brought up with great parents, we don't get to choose our parents, of course, but if you're brought up in an environment that's wonderful, then you get wonderful hand-me-downs. If you're brought up in an environment that's not so good, you get not so good hand-me-downs. But I think the biggest part is that we get to make a choice of changing those so that we don't pass those same hand-me-downs to the next generation. And a lot of this has to do with really overcoming and being able to succeed in our life. As I look at one of the biggest tasks as I've been out speaking around the country with Beachbody, and as I've been doing now for really 30 years, is the biggest challenge for a lot of us becomes ourselves. It's not believing we can do certain things. It's not believing we can accomplish certain things because of our past and because of guilt that we carry and pain that we carry. And we know that most of us going through struggle of change isn't really welcomed. And I always talk about how that really struggle is much less painful than regret. And if we don't face those struggles in our lives, then we end up with regrets later in life. And so I really believe that if we can take some of these hand-me-downs and be able to deal with them in our life and get them out and put them in front of us. When I gave this talk, I actually had this old trunk that I opened up and put it on a table, and I started pulling out some of my hand-me-downs. One was a little baseball glove because I used to play catch with my dad every day, and at 7 years old, he walked out of my life and never returned. So that glove kind of represented that hand-me-down in my life. There's also, I have in this chest an empty alcohol bottle because my mom was an alcoholic and drank for 30 years. I also have some chain there, and basically it's just pull those out to say that our life, we became enchained or enslaved in our life of the past. And so all of these things that every one of us that are on this call, even if you've had a great family and a great background, there's always little things that get passed on to us that we need to deal with. And one of the things I've learned about the hand-me-downs is I've learned that you don't really ever get over them. You just learn to deal with them differently. And throughout our lives, my situation of a mom that was an alcoholic and abandonment and these things, those aren't ever going to be out of my life. But I know now, with the maturity of growing and dealing with them and putting them on the table and emptying the trunk, I know now that I've learned to deal with them differently. And so for a lot of us on this call, you might say, what does hand-me-downs have to do with success in Beachbody? What it has to do with is self-esteem. It has to do with believing in yourself. I think a lot of us end up with this. We have a person on each shoulder. One is saying, you can do incredible things with your life. You can you're a masterpiece. You were created to do wonderful things. And the other one on the other shoulder saying, who are you kidding? You've never done much in your life. You have all this terrible past. You know, these things have happened to you. How do you ever expect to overcome these and become successful or to do great things with your life or to impact other people's lives? And so it's a constant battle. I actually have a statue that's my favorite thing. I bought it up in Aspen one year, and it looks like 2 guys facing each other with their hands on each other's shoulder pushing, and the title of it is the struggle within. And I think that's what we face in our lives all the time. Can I really become successful? Can I really stand on a stage and share my life? Can I make a difference in the lives of people with where I've been and what I've had in my life? And my answer to you is yes. And my answer to you is I've done that. I've been able to overcome those things. And again, they're not out of my life, but I've learned to deal with them differently. But see, all of us at birth, we're this masterpiece. I call it poema. It's a word. It's actually a Greek word in the New Testament that talks about the workmanship, that you're created perfect, that you're created this incredible human being to do mighty works and great things with your lives. And that's the way we're born. And so, but what happens as these kids are young, I get a chance sometimes to speak to groups of children, and I go in there and I ask them who can run a marathon, and every hand goes up, and who believes they can play professional baseball, and every hand goes up, and who believes that they can fly to be an astronaut. Every hand goes up, because as a young child, we believe we can do all those things. We believe we can overcome. We believe there's nothing that we can't do. But what happens as we're trodden down and these hand-me-downs are given to us in our life, as we become older, we doubt ourselves. We start to deal with all these issues. So I want to read to you what I wrote here, and then I'm going to kind of break it down for you. But it's hand-me-downs, your dreams and passions, a masterpiece. As children, we have no limits. We're given the ability to dream endlessly. There is nothing we cannot do. The world seems large, but it's our dreams that shrink it and make it so available to us. We have no boundaries when it comes to seeing our future as exciting, wonderful, and full of chances. As we grow up and face the challenges of life, we begin to shrink those dreams. We begin to limit not only what we can accomplish, but who we are. We no longer feel as though we are limitless, infallible, unable to be stopped. The world becomes so large a place that we fear, a place which seems to control us. The fear stops us from dreaming any longer. We accept our fate. Average becomes acceptable. We find ourselves in a large, dark forest with no way out. Someone comes into our life deep in that dark forest and reaches out a hand and gently walks alongside of us, pointing out the beauty of the forest. You soon begin to understand this journey. Darkness only exists when you're alone, without a vision, burdened by the past, unable to forgive those who have hurt you and those who have stolen your dreams and limited you and crushed the child in you. But now we are faced with a choice. Do we stay in the darkness, or do we choose the light? The gentle hand guides you, comforts you, walks with you, and you now believe again. Like a child, you are free from the past. Dreams once again become easy, accomplishable. Those dreams shelved in the attic of your life, burdened with cobwebs and quietly awaiting your arrival, are visited by you again. You now know that your life is like a circular stair. Each turn forces decision. Move forward or retreat. There is no ability to remain where you are. It's those dreams that give us life, hope, vision, and without those dreams, we perish. Dreams give us freedom to see ourselves as a young child again, unburdened by life, the masterpiece of creation. It's in this place where dreams transport us that we are free. The first part of that talk, where I talk about as children we have no limits, we're given the ability to dream endlessly. I kind of talked about that a couple of minutes ago. But you know what? That there is nothing that kids can't believe they can't do. And why is that? Because they're not scarred. There's not a lot of things that have happened yet. And so there's nothing that limits us. And I think of the word, again, the word poema, the masterpiece, because that's at creation. And those of you on this call that have had children, you watch that child be born and you watch the innocence of it, the purity of that child. And it's just, the kids are gripping. Watch little kids in hospitals that are born, and their little hands are just squeezing and gripping at life because they want to go out and they want to challenge life. And their dreams are endless. I remember being a young child, and even though I was in a kind of a crummy situation, I always believed that someday, some way I could do something great with my life. And we talk about childlike faith, and it a lot of times that childlike faith comes because we know without a doubt that there's nothing hindering us, nothing keeping us back. But what happens as we grow older and we get the hand-me-downs, and maybe we don't grow up in the greatest environment, and things happen to us that we didn't want to happen, then all of a sudden we start to struggle with that. We start to doubt ourselves. As children, there's no obstacles. They believe they can do anything with their life, any great thing. They love unconditionally. Color doesn't matter. Size doesn't matter. And all of these things, if someone's out of shape, there's all these things that are prejudices that children don't have. But as these hand-me-downs are passed on in our life, and the things that are given to us that we don't want, it starts to sway our thinking. And the biggest thing it affects is us personally. It affects our belief to achieve. It affects our belief to go out and do mighty works with our life. And so one of the biggest obstacles a lot of you are going to face in your business is, like the other night, a guy said to me, what's going to be my greatest obstacle building my Beachbody business at a meeting? And I said, it's going to be you, the person in your seat, because this business is a business of overcoming. And we have to overcome ourselves first in order to be able to believe that we can do great things. because there's this whole vision thing where until you see yourself there where you want to be, you can't get there. And luckily, a lot of us grow up in this business. As we build it, we get mentors in our life, people that are where we want to be, that are reaching a hand back and saying, let me bring you here. Let me walk this walk with you. Let me go down this road. Those of you who heard me speak where I talk about, let me take you to the lake. Let me find out where it is that you want to go. But as children, they have no boundaries. There's nothing limiting them. But it's what happens to us in that childhood, and as we begin to get older, those things that we didn't want to happen that does in all kinds of circumstances. And that's when we start to falter. That's when we start to doubt ourselves. And unfortunately, we begin to carry that through our lives. So, again, the birth of you is that masterpiece, the way you were born, the way you came into this world. But all of that changes as we face some of these hand-me-downs. As we grow up and we face the challenges of life, we begin to shrink dreams. We begin to limit not only what we can accomplish, but who we are. We no longer feel as though we're limitless, infallible, unable to be stopped. The world becomes so large a place we fear, a place which seems to control us. The fear stops us from dreaming any longer. We accept our fate. Average becomes acceptable. We find ourselves in a large, dark forest with no way out. A lot of the people that you're presenting this business to, it goes way beyond just the fact that they need to get in shape. It goes way beyond now, especially with the economy and people's lives and lack of hope and lack of dreams. And these are the things we talk about all the time. People get to a point where they accept the fate of their life. I had a guy once, he said to me, so I'm just accept where I am. I said, why would you ever do that? Because you can change that. And I think our greatest message through this talk today is you can change your life anytime you decide to make that choice. Anytime you decide to open the trunk, pull out some of these obstacles, these hand-me-downs, and deal with them. And some of you on this call probably you've probably gone through therapy, and you've gone through people, helping you down this journey and down this road. And some of you that haven't, that might be a good thing for you to be able to do, because we have to overcome the past and be able to quit turning around and facing backwards. I'm a believer that you always have to glance over your shoulder and see where you've come from, because it makes you appreciate where you are, but never turn around, because then what are we doing? We're going the wrong way. So this tattered trunk of life that's handed to us, and most of us put it on our back and our shoulders, and we carry it every single day, when we can make a choice at any time to take the trunk off and set it down and not pick it up again. But we pick it up every day because it's kind of our burden. It's kind of, this is who I am. This is what I have to be. I remember seeing an interview on TV once with two guys. One was, they were twins, born twins, and they were both brought up in the exact same home. And one of them they interviewed was an extremely wealthy man, extremely successful, influenced literally thousands of people's lives, and had this incredible life and lifestyle and an incredible life of influence. He was mentoring people. The other one was his twin brother, who was in prison. And they asked the man who was extremely successful, they said, why did you become so successful? And he said, I had a terrible home. I had a broken home. I suffered a lot of pain growing up. I had no choice. I had to do what I've done in my life. They asked the twin brother the exact same question. Why did you end up in prison? He said, I came up from a tattered home, a broken home. I was abused. I had a terrible childhood. What choice did I have? And that's the exact same situation. One chooses it as a launching pad to change his life. Another one chooses it as an excuse to be where he is. So we carry these in relationships. We carry them in marriages. We carry them in relationship with our kids. And I realized unless I broke the chains, it's like, I remember a guy saying to me once, if it's not better for you than it was for your children, you failed. But he wasn't only talking about financially or business-wise. He was talking about me as a human being. If you're not a better person for your children than your father was, or whatever your obstacles were in the past, then you failed. And that goes back again that we can make this choice. But we carry these hand-me-downs into every relationship we're in, whether it's a business relationship, a romantic relationship, a friendship, your relationship with your children, husband, wife, mom, dad. These are all relational things that are going to be affected by these hand-me-downs that we carry. So we need to break these chains. I remember reading a great quote. It says, tragedy is when a dream dies, yet the dreamer lives. And for a lot of us, these hand-me-downs and these obstacles and these burdens and these anvils we carry in our back and these giant trunks, it keeps us from having hope. It keeps us from dreaming, because we can't ever believe that we're going to ever change anything about who we are and what we are in our life. And so we focus on the negative, and we look to the past. And we all know that there isn't one, I've been on this call now for maybe, 20 minutes. I can't get one of those seconds back. Those seconds are gone. I can't reach back into my past and change things. I've made mistakes. I've made the wrong decisions in my life. Can any one of us on this call right now reach back and change any of those decisions? We can't. And so the past is the past. But what we have to do is we have to draw a line and move forward. And we can't allow the past, which we have no control over, to affect where we are and where we're going. And that's where the dream comes in. Because for me, it was the dream of success, but more than anything, the dream of someday, some way I was going to do something great with my life. That dream is what drove me on to be able to go through the obstacles and face the pain of change and face the pain of suffering and face the pain of the past and all those kinds of things. And it's so prevalent. You know, I worked I had a ministry for 10 years called Mariah Ministries, and I work with fathers and sons and reconciling their lives. And there's this giant hole that a lot of men have in their lives because they have no relationship with a father. So it becomes this giant hole, and they spend their time in their life doing crazy things, trying to get this affirmation from something that will never happen. And so for a lot of us, those father-son issues become issues in our lives. They're things we struggle with because we didn't have an example. I remember when my son was born, sitting there holding him and not knowing how to be a dad because I didn't have one. I didn't know what I would do, how I would do it. But then I realized that I could learn those things from men that were successful at that. I could, if I was mentored and went to the right people, I could change those things about my life. So, you know, a big part of that is we have to realize that some of us have been tainted. We have been, chipped at. We have been chipped away at. But we can be whole again by making the decision to overcome the past and to put it behind us and whatever it takes to be able to do that so that we, for the first time for some of us in our life, we see this giant vision of what we can really become. Someone comes in your life deep, dark in the forest and reaches out a hand and gently walks alongside of you, pointing out the beauty of the forest. You soon begin to understand this journey. Darkness only exists when you're alone, without a vision, burdened by the past, unable to forgive those who hurt you. Those who stole your dreams, limited you, and crushed the child in you. But now we're faced with a choice. Stay in the darkness or choose the light. The gentle hand guides you, comforts you, walks with you, and you now believe again. Like a child, you're free from the past. Dreams once again become easy, accomplishable. Those dreams shelved in the attic of your life, burdened with cobwebs, awaiting your arrival, are visited by you again. You now know that your life is like a circular stair. Each turn forces decision, move forward, retreat, or retreat. There's no ability to stay where you are. Because all of us on this call right now are on this spiral staircase in our lives, and we're standing on a tread. And that tread is shrinking in our lives, whether it be an economic tread, whether it be your own self-esteem, whether it be your own hope in your life. The tread begins to shrink, and we will make a choice in our life. We'll either begin to climb towards your dreams and goals and the things you want in life by overcoming, or we'll retreat and live in the past and go backwards. And all of us on this call will face that decision because we're standing on that tread right now. And the decision has to be to climb, because in climbing, you will go through pain. Nobody likes to change. Nobody likes to deal with the past. Nobody likes to deal with things that have happened. Nobody likes to deal with struggle. But again, struggle is much less painful than regret. So what we realize is, as this last part I read, this dark forest, you know how many people right now in your Beachbody business, that's where they were when you found them? And that you've reached out to them and you've shared your life with them, and you're the one who went into that forest and grabbed them by the hand. You're the one I often say when you show this business to people, you take them to the attic, open up this cobweb trunk, and you put it in front of them and say, you know what, these are your dreams. And you put them away. Let's bring them out again. Let's believe in them again. You know, let's go out and do something mighty and something great with our lives. You know, so somebody came into your life and started to make that difference. And that's really your sponsor in this business. And that's not obviously the only person, but in relation to Beachbody, the person that you work with upline, your mentor in this business, they were that one in there that grabbed your hand and said, let's go. Let's climb. Let's not go backwards. And a lot of us, and for me, before I got into network marketing and the association that I work with, a lot of my friends were ones that they were going backwards. They were grabbing my hand saying, let's just retreat. Let's give up. It's never going to change. It's never going to be any different for us. You know, nothing's going to change in our life. And they wanted to go backwards. And then I meet people that said to me, no, and they're grabbing you by the hand and they're up 5 flights of stairs ahead of you and they're pulling you up saying, no, here's where we need to go. But see, you guys are becoming that for many people. You're the ones going into the forest. That's their life. You're giving them hope again. You're giving them dreams again. And then you're saying, let me walk with you. Let me run with you. Let me help you get to where it is that you want to go. And so, I mean, that's such a blessing for all of us as we build our business. And it also, you know, it has a lot to do with your success in this business, because when you become significant, like when you walk into that forest and you grab somebody by the hand and say, look, your dreams can come true. You know, I know you're not where you want to be, but I know where you can be if you just believe in the dream and you believe in them. And you become that mentor of those people. And that ends up giving them hope again. And so a lot of times people get in this business, if you understand it, they don't even believe in Beachbody when they first get in. They believe in you. And you're the one saying, let me walk with you. C.S. Lewis said, a friendship's born when someone says, "Oh, you too." I thought I was the only one. And see, most of the people that are on this call, you guys, you've been to some capacity in that dark forest at some time in your life. But you've chosen to step away. You've chosen to step out of it, whether it be the physical side, whether you've been obese, whether health-wise it's been terrible. That's the dark forest, whether it's just low self-esteem, whether it's not believing in yourself. Maybe it's being broke. You look at what this business offers in such a large package. All of that is what you're walking in and putting on a table and giving that gift to someone. It's lifting those up around you. It's loving people unconditionally. It's going back to that selfless life of giving to others. And if you look at the leaders in our business throughout the country, they are the most selfless people. Because in this business, and you often heard me say this before, in this business you can't build it unless you put yourself second and someone else first. They have to be more important. You have to become significant in their lives. And so you are the people that are on this journey, and it's exciting. And some of you are just getting out of the forest yourself, and you're reaching back and pulling people out with you. And that's what we have to offer. And again, with this phenomenal business and the products and the relationships and the hope that people have. Because if you listen to people's stories, and I love to listen to people's stories, whether it was Summit last year, whether it was the Summer Success Tool, whether it's a briefing, when these coaches get up and tell their story, it's a story of overcoming. It's not just about, I got in shape physically. It's about, hey, I've got hope in my life again. I've got a dream again. I believe in myself again. See, those are the people who you've gone into their lives, and a lot of them had hand-me-downs and still have them. But they know if someone will walk that journey with them, and someone like you will enlighten them and be strong enough as a leader to say to them, I'll put light on your weaknesses. I'm gonna illuminate them. And that's what I want to do as a mentor. I want to illuminate your weaknesses, and then I want to walk alongside of you to help you overcome them. I don't want to avoid them. I don't want to discard them. I don't want to not deal with them, because I know that nobody ever gets to that, becomes successful if they do that. There comes a point where you have to put everything in front of you and say, okay, that was a challenge in my life. Your mother was an alcoholic. How did that affect your life? Okay, why did that work on your self-esteem? Those are hand-me-downs. Your dad left and he abandoned you, so you felt helpless as a father. But you found people in your life that could help you overcome that, and that's what we do every day in this business. This is the bigger picture of what I'm talking about. In this talk, if you put somebody on this, you still go listen to this talk, and they're going to go, well, what's this got to do with Beachbody? And I hope you all get what it really has to do with it, because it's about us. And it's about, for me to lead, I got to believe I deserve to lead. I got to believe I'm a masterpiece. I got to believe I was created to do mighty and great things with my life, or I can't lead others. So that's what we want people to understand. It's in those dreams that it gives us life, hope, vision, and without those dreams, we perish. Dreams give us freedom to see ourselves as a young child again, unburdened by life, the masterpiece of creation. It's in this place where dreams transport us that we are free. So like I said earlier in the talk today, is you draw a line in the sand, and that's what you all need to do while you're listening to this talk right now. And you need to draw a line in the sand, and you know what? You need to embrace life. And you need to understand that, you know what, there has been things handed down to you. There are hand-me-downs. There are things you didn't want in your life. But you know what? You can't do anything about that. They were given to you. But what we can do is deal with them and put them behind us so that we don't pass them on to the next generation. And, you know, there's a whole understanding of embracing life. You know, I always say I don't want to sip life. I want to gulp it down. And for those of you that have that big a dream and want to do mighty works and do great things with your life and lead really literally thousands of people like some of the leaders do in this business, you know, some of the great leaders that I get a chance to work with on these mentor calls every single day and to know the kind of people they lead and what their life's about. But you know what? On these mentor calls I'm doing, we talk about these issues because there's hand-me-downs with those leaders, but they're overcomers. You know, there's those that don't quit. They're going to overcome, and that by overcoming in our lives, if we have struggle, if we have this tapestry of our life that's been woven in our lives, right, of struggle and of pain, when we overcome it, we can now transform and change the lives of others. If we never overcome it ourselves, we never have that blessing of helping others overcome their lives. So a lot of our responsibility as leaders in our business is to overcome. Because once I overcome and I stand on the stage and I can share my victory, now someone else out there who's not where I am, they believe they can have the victory too. So the biggest thing with all we've talked about today is how does this affect our self-esteem? Well, number one, when you're born, when you're born, you're pure, you believe in everything. Things are given to us that we don't want, and it affects our lives and it affects how we act every day and how we react and how much we believe in ourselves. And then someone comes into your life like you guys on this call, and you step into someone's life, whether you met them at Starbucks or you worked out at the gym and you talk to them about Beachbody, and pretty soon you're sitting down with them, you're going to a getting started right interview with them. And pretty soon they're depending on you, and you create expectations with each other, and you begin to mentor those people. And that gives them an opportunity to overcome. And then you're in this journey with them. And so what we need to do as we wrap this call up is we need to understand that you are created as a masterpiece. You know, you're like this. I remember Michelangelo reading a story about him when he chiseled out the David in the rock, and if I've seen that in France, and it takes your breath away, the perfection of it. But he said he saw that in the rock before he began to chisel. It wasn't like, geez, what am I going to do? He saw this perfect vision of David as he began to chisel away. And that's really in our own lives as Beachbody coaches, that's what we do in a sense. Because if we see a brand new coach in this business and we see someone who's brand new, who's looking at you like, do you think I can really do this? Our goal and our dream is to see them as the masterpiece of what they can be and what they were created to be. And all the hand-me-downs and all the stuff that's chiseled away at them and all the scar tissue and all the things that have happened to them, we need to help them understand it doesn't matter. That is the past. It's not the future. And so all of us today on this call, we need to draw the line today. We need to make a decision that we're going to quit turning around and looking back. We're going to glance over our shoulder and realize how far we've come, but we're not going to live there. We're going to decide because we know if I change my life, I can change others' lives. If I don't change mine, I can't change others. So there's a complete correlation between success in the network relational marketing business and changing your life and being that example to others of overcoming. In conclusion, we can't change where we've been, but we can change where we're going. But only after we've been purged of the guilt, pain, shame, and uselessness of our past. Then and only then are we free to live a life and to live a life as a masterpiece. So not until we purge the shame and the pain and the guilt and the things that have been handed down to us, not until we overcome that, not until we do that are we able to, number one, realize and see ourselves as that David in the stone. But it's also we can't transform that belief to someone else. And so we need to recognize ourselves. It's about what we can do to change our lives and in turn around and change the lives of those around us. So it's been great sharing with you guys today, and I hope all of you decide to open that trunk, start to pull out some of those hand-me-downs and start dealing with them so you guys can move on in your life and be great leaders in this business and make a difference in the lives of literally thousands of people.